Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. What you are about to hear today is not speculation, not exaggeration, and not a distant future scenario. It is a crisis unfolding in real time, quietly at first, but now with increasing urgency. A crisis so severe that experts are using one of the most frightening terms in modern urban planning: zero day. This is the moment when a city's water supply can no longer meet basic human needs. And today, Tehran, a megacity of more than 10 million people, is standing at the edge of that moment. For years, Tehran was seen as resilient, sanctioned, pressured, isolated, yet standing. But water does not care about politics, alliances, or ideology. When water disappears, power structures weaken, societies fracture, and stability becomes an illusion. This is why what is happening in Tehran is not just Iran's problem. It is becoming a geopolitical shockwave, and for Vladimir Putin watching from Moscow, this unfolding disaster is nothing short of a nightmare. Tehran is not a small city that can be quietly relocated. It is the political, economic, and symbolic heart of Iran. Government ministries, military command centers, financial institutions, hospitals, universities, and industries are all concentrated here. More than 10 million people depend on a fragile water system that is now failing under pressure from climate change, mismanagement, overpopulation, and decades of overuse. Zero day means something very specific. It means taps run dry. It means water trucks become the only source of survival. It means hospitals struggle to sterilize equipment. It means fires cannot be controlled. It means toilets stop working. It means disease spreads faster than authorities can respond. Zero day is not inconvenience. Zero day is collapse. The warnings have been coming for years, but they were easy to ignore. Reservoir levels falling slowly. Groundwater tables dropping meter by meter. Rivers shrinking season after season. But now the numbers are no longer abstract. Some of Tehran's main reservoirs are reported to be at historic lows. In certain areas, groundwater extraction has exceeded sustainable levels by such a margin that the land itself is sinking. Entire neighborhoods are experiencing land subsidence, a permanent and irreversible process. Once an aquifer collapses, it can never be refilled. That water is gone forever. Millions of residents are already feeling the pressure. Water rationing has become normal in some districts. Supply cuts happen without warning. Families store buckets, bottles, and tanks wherever they can. Daily routines are shaped by one question: will there be water today? For the wealthy, solutions exist. Private tanks, bottled water, backup systems. For the poor, there are no alternatives. They wait in long lines for water trucks, hoping supply arrives before tempers flare. This is how unrest begins, not with ideology, but with thirst. Iran is no stranger to protests. In recent years, demonstrations have erupted over fuel prices, economic hardship, and social restrictions. But water protests are different. Water protests are raw. When people are thirsty, fear turns into anger very quickly. Across Iran, from Khuzestan to Isfahan, water shortages have already sparked unrest. Now imagine that pressure concentrated in Tehran itself. The idea of evacuating Tehran was once unthinkable. Today, it is being discussed quietly among experts and planners. Not publicly, not officially, but seriously. Because if zero day arrives, authorities may have no choice. But evacuating 10 million people is not like evacuating a town after a flood or earthquake. It is one of the largest logistical challenges imaginable. Where would they go? How would they be housed? How would food, healthcare, and security be provided? And how would the government maintain control during such a movement? This is where the crisis stops being purely Iranian and becomes deeply international. Iran and Russia are bound together by necessity and strategy. Both face Western sanctions. Both oppose Western influence in their regions. Both cooperate militarily Economically and diplomatically, Iran has provided critical support to Russia during the Ukraine war, while Russia has offered Iran technology, weapons, and political backing. This partnership has become a pillar of Russia's broader strategy to resist isolation. But alliances are only strong when partners are stable. A destabilized Iran is a nightmare scenario for Moscow. If Tehran is consumed by internal crisis, it cannot project power abroad. It cannot reliably support allies. It cannot maintain the same level of cooperation with Russia. Worse, instability inside Iran could create openings for rival powers to exert influence, diplomatically or economically. For Putin, already dealing with war, sanctions, and economic strain, the last thing he needs is a collapsing partner in the Middle East. Water crises have a proven track record of triggering political upheaval. Syria's civil war was preceded by years of severe drought that displaced rural populations into cities, increasing pressure on already fragile systems. In Iraq, water shortages have fueled protests and weakened state authority. In many parts of the world, from Africa to South Asia, water stress is becoming a catalyst for instability. Tehran's situation is even more dangerous because of its scale. A megacity without water becomes ungovernable. Law enforcement struggles when basic services fail. Black markets emerge. Inequality becomes visible and explosive. Those with resources survive, those without suffer. Trust in institutions collapses rapidly. Climate change has accelerated everything. Rising temperatures increase water demand while reducing supply. Snowpack in the mountains that once fed rivers and reservoirs has declined. Rainfall patterns have become unpredictable. Heat waves last longer, pushing consumption higher while evaporation drains what little remains. This is not a temporary drought. This is a structural shift. Iran's infrastructure was never designed for these conditions. Much of it is old, leaky, and inefficient. Large-scale dam projects disrupted natural water flows without solving long-term sustainability. Urban expansion continued without regard for water limits. Groundwater was treated like an infinite resource, pumped faster than it could ever be replenished. Now the bill has come due. Authorities are attempting emergency measures, rationing water more aggressively, cutting supply to non-essential industries, exploring desalination projects and water transfers. But these solutions take time, and time is what Tehran does not have. You cannot build resilience overnight. You cannot refill aquifers in a season, and 0 day does not negotiate. The human cost is already visible. Hospitals under strain, schools struggling to maintain hygiene, small businesses closing because they cannot operate without reliable water, elderly residents unable to carry water upstairs, parents making impossible choices about how to use the little water they have. Water is not just another utility. It is the foundation of modern life. Without it, everything else fails. For Russia, this crisis adds another layer of uncertainty to an already unstable global environment. Energy markets, regional security, migration flows, and military calculations are all affected by what happens in Iran. A mass displacement from Tehran would ripple across borders. Neighboring countries would feel the pressure. Political dynamics would shift, and Russia's strategic calculations would have to adapt to a rapidly changing reality. This is why Tehran's water crisis is being watched closely in Moscow, Washington, and beyond. It is not just about drought. It is about what happens when environmental limits collide with political systems that are unprepared to adapt. There are only a few possible paths forward. One is managed survival, where strict rationing and emergency measures prevent total collapse, at least temporarily. Another is sudden breakdown, where infrastructure fails faster than expected, triggering chaos. The third is mass displacement, where evacuation becomes unavoidable, None of these outcomes are easy. All carry profound consequences. The world often focuses on wars, elections, and dramatic political events. But some of the most powerful forces shaping our future are quieter. They flow beneath our feet. They fall from the sky. They disappear slowly until one day they are gone. Tehran is approaching that day. And when a city of 10 million runs out of water, the consequences do not stay contained. They spread, they destabilize, they rewrite alliances, they turn strategic calculations upside down. For Vladimir Putin, the nightmare is not just the image of a thirsty city. It is the realization that power built on fragile foundations can crack without a single shot being fired, that allies weakened by nature become liabilities, that control is meaningless when basic survival is at stake. Zero day is no longer a distant concept discussed in academic papers. It is a ticking clock, and Tehran is running out of time. What happens next will shape not only Iran's future, but the balance of power across an already fragile world. When the water stops, everything changes. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay aware, and stay safe.